Hello everyone, I'm Nikes and we're back for part 11. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Naruto thought with glee as she flew over the roofs of Konoha at speeds she hadn't even thought were possible. Okay, this wasn't a case of enemies per se, but the same rules applied.
Are you still holding on, young lady?
I'm doing just fine! She screamed to be heard over the blowing wind. She pointed forward. The Jonin on whose shoulders she was sitting was unlikely to heed her direction, since she didn't actually know where they had to go. But pretending she could direct this powerful Jonin was thrilling. Forward, with the fires of youth! She had figured out early on that seemed to be the sentence that could make him go faster.
Yosh!
Sometime earlier. Kakashi Hatake was avoiding her. Shikamaru told her he had passed her message along, yet there was still no sign of the man. Worse, she knew that he was about to leave on what might be a very long escort mission this very day. This would be her last chance to speak to him for at least a few weeks. Hence why she was here, headed towards Team 9's regular training ground, looking for one Might Guy. She had done some research on Kakashi, and if anyone could help her track him down it was this Might Guy. Guy wasn't there yet, but she did find his Genin students in the middle of throwing weapon practice. We're in the middle of something. If you have business with us, please contact us during business hours. The boy told her, not pausing to look at her. From his appearance, Naruto could immediately tell he was a Hyuga. No need to be rude, Neji, the sole girl of the team said. Hello, I'm Tenten. Is there something we can do for you? Naruto bowed, as was proper when meeting some of her senpais. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm looking for your Jonin sensei. I need his help to track down a man named Kakashi Hatake. Why not just file it as a D-rank mission? Neji suggested offhandedly, still not pausing to look at her. Wait, the third member of their team says. Did I hear that correctly? Is your name Naruto Uzumaki? It is. You've heard of me? The same Naruto Uzumaki who graduated from the academy this year. The one who is lauded as a genius right alongside Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto puffs up her chest. It seems my reputation precedes me. My name is Rock Lee, and I graduated at the very bottom of the rankings, and I have absolutely no talent whatsoever, Rock Lee declares proudly. Tenten's eyes seem to say, oh no. Neji also pauses his training to look at the proceedings, rubbing his forehead as if he was suffering from migraines. Congratulations? Naruto says uncertainly. Fight me here and now. Excuse me? Please fight me, Naruto-san, and I shall prove that your talent is no match against my hard work and determination. I work hard, Naruto thought, somewhat offended at this green spandex-wearing kid's presumption. Is this really necessary? Normally she'd be down for accepting random challenges like this, but she did come here with a different purpose. Please, Naruto-san! I guess there's no harm in it, and it's not like Guy is here right now, Naruto thinks. Very well, Lee. I accept your challenge. I'll be the referee, Tenten declares and addresses Lee. Don't hurt her too badly. I will use no more force than is required, Lee says seriously. Alright then. And Tenten turns back to Naruto and looks concerned. Remember that Lee has been a Genin longer than you. He's no slouch and there's no shame in losing to him. Losing to someone in a spar is great. It means you have more to improve on, Naruto says. Tenten gives her an approving smile at her answer and Lee looks very surprised. On 3, Tenten says, lifting her hand. 1. Lee takes a taijutsu stance and if Naruto reads him correctly he plans to rush her. Fine. She had faith in her taijutsu skills, so she tried to meet him head-on. 2. Naruto readies herself. 3. Tenten lowers her hand and Lee disappears from Naruto's vision. By reflex alone, Naruto manages to interpose her arms between her stomach and Rock Lee's kick and is promptly sent flying into a nearby forest. When she finally comes to a stop, she's a mess of limbs, leaves and twigs. Okay, so we're not beating this guy in taijutsu, Naruto thinks frantically through the stinging of her arms. She hadn't broken anything, but one of her arms, the one that had made contact with Lee's kick, was rapidly turning blue and moving it hurt. Close range is suicide and don't have any long range attacks besides kunai and shuriken. Also paper bombs, but she wasn't willing to use those in what was supposed to be a casual spar. On the plus side, Lee's kick had sent her flying so far that they'd lost sight of each other. Alright, stealth and ambush tactics it is. Naruto pushes her aching body upwards. Even from that one hit, that she had blocked by the way, she had trouble moving. Next, she immediately used the transformation jutsu to camouflage the color of her body and clothes into something that could blend into the environment, and then proceeded to hide herself deeper into the forest. Thankfully, Lee seemed to have expected for her to jump right back into the field again, so it took a while for him to follow her, giving her some precious time to set a few traps. It was difficult with one arm almost useless, but she had been practicing to use her hair to do all kinds of daily activities. "I do not understand," she could hear Lee saying when he eventually followed her into the forest. "Why would a genius like you need to hide yourself from a loser like me?" "Because blocking another one more of those kicks will likely break my arm," Naruto thinks. She had no idea what Lee's problem with her was, but she could think about that when she wasn't trying to maneuver around an opponent whose strength obviously eclipsed hers. It took a while, but eventually Lee did trigger one of her traps, launching a handful of kunai at him. He dodged without issue, but that just meant he tripped right over the trap she actually counted on to win the fight. That trap consisted of Naruto's own hair that she had elongated to serve as a tripwire. Since it was a part of her body, she had also managed to use a basic transformation jutsu to camouflage it and make it very hard to detect. Lee had quick reflexes and would have been able to regain his balance quickly if this particular tripwire couldn't be manipulated to respond to him as well. Her hair circled around his legs and lifted him up into the air. Naruto didn't care how strong Lee was, it would do him little good if he didn't have any proper footing. Once she had him dangling upside down, she started throwing blunt shuriken at him that were meant for practice fights like this. They wouldn't hurt him, but if they hit him at the right spots, the fight would be called in her favor. Lee's next maneuver could best be described as an upside down sit-up, using only the muscles from his abs to pull himself out of the way. By the time Naruto grabbed her next set of shuriken, Lee was pulling himself towards her using her own hair as if it was a rope. Now, with chakra running through it, her hair was very hard to break, but it didn't have anywhere near the amount of pulling power to stop Lee from doing this. Naruto managed to launch one more volley of shuriken at Lee, which Lee, due to needing to cling to her own hair for leverage, wasn't able to dodge completely. If this had been a real fight, he would have been bleeding from several small wounds at this point. Though Lee did manage to use his headband to avoid any would-be fatal injuries to his head. At this point, she really needed Lee to let go of her. So she started to channel wind nature chakra through her hair and started to pull individual strands to cut at Lee's hands and ankles. She could only do so for a few seconds, however, before Lee was close enough to launch a punch at her throat, which he thankfully halted before it connected. That could have killed her had he followed through on that, and they both knew it. She had lost. Tenten called the match in Lee's favor, but Lee himself seemed ready to disagree with that result. "Why did you not try to cut me using your hair immediately, Naruto-san? I might not have been able to reach you in time if you had done so." "I thought the shuriken would be enough," Naruto shrugged. There was also the fact that she didn't like to seriously cut people during simple spars. Even though she only had a brief second to cut at him with her hair, those cuts already looked nasty and would probably make him walk a little painfully for a few days. Naruto didn't say that though. It might sound like she was making excuses. "All the same, I didn't expect a fresh genin to do so well against Lee," Tenten said. "I admit I was a little skeptical about you being called a genius, but that was well done for someone still so new to this." "I happen to agree." Neji came over and gave his opinion. "If you had actually seen Lee as an enemy, and if you had just a few more months to practice on that technique, Lee would have lost both his feet and several fingers. Not sure if I'd call it genius level, but nothing to be ashamed of if you've only been a genin for a month." "That's high praise coming from him," Tenten said. "Thank you, Tenten-senpai and Neji-senpai, and thank you for the match, Lee-senpai. If this is how strong a genin is supposed to be after just 1 year of training, I need to step up my game." "You're not upset at losing to a talentless loser like me?" Naruto was surprised at how he could call himself a talentless loser without sounding like he was talking himself down. All the same, she still didn't like it. "My aching arms disagree with you having no talent when it comes to taijutsu. And if you're a loser, how much of a wuss would I be for having lost to you?" Lee gave her a smile that was so bright it almost hurt to look at. You are graceful in defeat, Naruto-san, but you are mistaken. I have no talent in taijutsu. All of that was the result of Guy-sensei's youthful training regime. Then I need to ask him to give my Jonin-sensei some pointers, Naruto said. No, Tenten said immediately. You really don't want that. Why not? Lee asks, seeming genuinely confused. Everyone should be able to benefit from Guy-sensei's wisdom. Who should benefit from my youthful advice? And that was how Naruto ended up meeting Team 9. Convincing Guy to postpone training with his team to help her took some doing. But once she pulled out the I am a sad poor orphan girl who's just so desperate to learn anything about her deceased father card, combined with a quivering lip and moist eyes that Ino had taught her to summon on command, Guy had acquiesced to her wishes. Lee had actually started to tearing up at the end of her performance, though Neji and Tenten both looked at her in a way that indicated they knew what she was doing. Tenten looked impressed by her performance. And that's how Naruto ended up cruising through the air on the shoulders of Might Guy. Young lady, Guy said, and his voice had a lower volume this time and sounded more serious. I will bring you to Kakashi, but if he doesn't want to talk to you about your father, I want you to leave him be. I understand you've lost much, but Kakashi has lost just as much if not more, and I do not want to see him hurt. I promise. They found Kakashi at the third place Guy decided to look. The first was the memorial stone for a ninja who died in the line of duty. The second was a simple clearing next to a cliff, which was apparently where he liked to train. The third, where he actually was an R-rated bookstore. Guy insisted she waited outside.
My eternal rival!
She heard Guy yell from inside the building. It was a testament to how loud Guy was that she could barely hear Kakashi, even though he seemed to talk back to Guy in a normal volume. Kakashi, meanwhile, was cursing his bad luck and his avoidance of Naruto thus far. Yo, Kakashi said with a wave when he came outside and saw her, trying to hide how awkward he felt behind his hip and cool attitude, as Guy called it, with the ease of long practice. Do you want something? Guy, that traitor, was already racing back to his Genin team. I think you know why I am here, Hatake-san. You wouldn't have tried to avoid me so long as you have if you didn't know. Yes, well, I don't have a lot of time right now. I'm about to embark on a mission soon. Naruto shoots a look at the store behind him. Yes, I can see how pressed for time you were. Damn it! Being caught inside of a porn store was not how Kakashi wanted to be introduced to his sensei's baby girl. I was just looking for something for the road, Kakashi said. I see. A strange glint appeared in Naruto's eyes. Is this stuff they sell here any good? What? Kakashi's brain had a brief blue screen moment. So I take it you wanted to learn more about Minato-sensei. Suddenly talking about Minato-sensei didn't seem like the worst option. I warn you though, I really do need to go on a mission soon. Don't you have a reputation for being late? Not for official missions. Now what do you wish to know? Whatever you're willing to tell me. I know he was a great shinobi, but what was Tosan like as a person? Kakashi took a deep breath through his mask. Anyone who has ever said, nobody is perfect, didn't know your father. To call him a great shinobi would be an understatement. He was an unparalleled genius. The best shinobi of his time. Beyond that, he was soft-spoken, not prone to bragging, though he had good reason to, and, well, just a generally perfect human being. I'm not sure how best to describe it. Naruto didn't seem inclined to offer helpful suggestions, instead listening to him with an almost hungry expression. I can't recall him ever losing his temper, though I did see him grow cold on occasion. That was usually the prelude to a lot of people dying. Naruto blinked at that last bit. The perfect human being, right? He was a shinobi, Kakashi shrugged. What is the proper response to someone trying to destroy all you care about? I don't presume to know the answer. Kakashi didn't offer anything more, instead he really wanted Naruto to ask specific questions. What was his favorite food? Kakashi snorted. Before or after he started dating your mother? You knew her too? What was she like? Kakashi knew at this point that he was going to be late after all. About an hour later, Kakashi had no choice but to excuse himself, though Naruto did extract a promise from him not to avoid her anymore and to answer any further questions later. You're late, Tazeno said when he finally joined Team 7. Is this the kind of service Konoha offers? I'm sorry. A sad, orphan girl crossed my path and I had to console her with tales of her deceased parents. By the looks of them, his little genin clearly didn't believe him, which Kakashi thought was completely unfair since it was true. There was a moment's silence, and for some reason he was expecting someone to dramatically declare they were heading out. Then Kakashi recalled this was a team comprised entirely of introverts and one guy who wouldn't know enthusiasm if it hit him with a sledgehammer. Well, are we leaving or not? Tazeno asks, or well, complains. Well, I guess so. And so the mission to Wave begins. And that's where we're going to leave things for now. Please join me next time for part 12. Nikes out.